Yeah, I don't know what you think of the new administration. Certainly there are things that I like about and some of their pro-tech posture and things like that. But what's happening now is it's kind of disappointing.
It's insane.
Yeah.
We were told there would be no. Well, there's two things that are insane.
Joe Rogan had some pretty harsh words for the Trump administration on the latest episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, which was just released. Now, you just heard him say that he had two things happening in the Trump administration that he finds insane. Well, he got through one of them, and then the conversation went off in a different direction before he could say the other. But here's the one that he didn't get to, or did get to.
One is the targeting of migrant workers, not cartel members, not gang members, not drug dealers, just construction workers showing up in construction sites and raiding them, gardeners.
Yeah.
Like, really?
I mean, he's absolutely right about that. In fact, if you look at the breakdown of the numbers of various people who have been detained by ICE, especially in recent months, the majority of them have not committed any crime. They've never been convicted of any crime. They might be in the country and they're undocumented, but the way that the Trump administration talks about these people makes it appear as though they've committed all sorts of violent, dangerous crimes, and that's just not the case.
So look, I think this is an important story for a couple of reasons. Number one, this is the second time that Rogan has said the same thing, right? And what a lot of us don't realize, because we all live in different bubbles, is that these independent shows, what sometimes people are calling the bro shows, I'm going to try to call them independent podcasters from now on, or broadcasters.
Smart.
And so that independent media, the left was told that they're all right-wing, Trump-loving cultists. And the right probably thinks that they were exactly in the middle or something along those lines and have annoying left-wing opinions and stuff. So you have, as news people, our job is to relay to you what's actually happening in the world, right? And the reality is that most of those shows lean anywhere from a little right to a lot right, right? Some of them lean a little left, but not a lot, right? So Andrew Schultz, for example, voted for Trump, but is a lifelong Democrat. If you count Charlemagne and Breakfast Club, he's clearly a Democrat, right? But Rogan, Theo Von, etc., while they might have supported Trump, but you all know that Rogan supported Bernie earlier. What they're really supporting, guys, is outsiders and populists. So you can say, no, I don't like that, or you can say, I love that, but that is what's happening. And so that is why Rogan does disagree with Trump plenty of times. So like if you watch his show, you'll see things like this. And that's why I said this is the second time he said it. And the second reason why it's important is because those guys got to be successful by tapping into something that a lot of Americans agree with, right? And what they're doing is they're saying, and Rogan has clarified this on this issue. So look, I think what people voted for was close off the border and take out the criminals that are undocumented. He's like, that's gonna make you really popular, right? And so I think most of us agree with that. Maybe some folks on the left don't agree with that. But overall, yeah, that makes sense. And if you're in that position and you don't like it, but the majority of the country definitely agrees with that. But he says if you go in and start taking out construction workers and guys who are working in restaurants, etc., he's like, nobody's gonna like that. And he's right. And the polling indicates that people don't like that, right? So, and now I say that to the right-wing guys, because the right-wing guys think, no, everybody thinks like I do.
No,
so like,
they don't.
Yeah, and they think, oh my God, I love alligator Alcatraz. I love snatching up these undocumented wherever they live, right in front of their kids. Oh, I love that, the country loves it. No, the country doesn't love it. Rogan is right.
No, by the way, you just touched on something, because this whole immigration debate is so frustrating, because this is what's gonna happen. I can already see it, okay? The pendulum's just gonna keep swinging from one extreme to another, right? Democrat comes in, promises they're gonna let things get out of control at the border, just like Biden did, okay? That leads to some unsavory people getting in the country and doing bad things. Obviously, a tiny, minuscule portion of people who are in the country illegally, okay? And rather than address that as Democrats, rather than ensuring that you have a proposal, a plan to do something about those folks, they decide to create a vacuum in which Republicans and people like Trump come in and say, I'm gonna be the one who protects you, right? They're gonna focus on the very specific instances of terrible crimes being committed, and people are going to support them. But then Trump comes in and he starts targeting, people who should not be targeted. I'm sorry, you shouldn't be going after day laborers at Home Depot parking lots. You shouldn't be going after construction workers. You shouldn't be going after, women who work at these hotels to do upkeep and all that. Like, people don't like it, right? People thought that Trump's gonna come in and he's going to prioritize people who are actually a danger to society. But that is not what he did, because that's actually a lot harder to do. And there aren't a lot of people to mass deport that fall in that category. So we're in one right-wing extreme right now. The next will be a left-wing extreme, and the pendulum goes back and forth, back and forth. We can't have, God forbid, any common sense immigration policies. We can't reform immigration. We can't have a pathway to citizenship for people who've been in this country for literally decades. We're just gonna keep moving back and forth from one failed policy to another.
Yeah, look, there's another reason why these shows are important and them saying this. First, last thought on the immigration point is, look, this is exactly what we said on day one. Why? Because it's not only is it bad politics for Trump, the right wing, okay, good, drive down your poll numbers, but it's cruel, it's cruel. And American people don't like cruelty. I don't like cruelty, none of us here do, right? And so like ripping people up from a life they've lived for the last 10 years, 15 years, when they're trying to provide for their family, etc. The American people are just not as cruel as the radical right is.
They're not.
Okay, and I know because in their bubble, they just can't get that. But the other important thing outside of immigration, as to why these shows are so important, is because they truly are independent. So like they can get audience captured. I think Rogan for a while got guest captured, right? And so those are all things you got to look out for. Sponsor capture, all that stuff is legitimate, and there's algorithmic incentives, etc. We got to look out for all that. But having said that, it's so much better than the terrible old days where the entire right wing got their information from Fox News. And Fox News is a corporate-driven entity, and all they do is talking points. And in the old days, when I talked to Republicans, they were all robots. All said the same exact thing as Sean Hannity on every single issue. And it was depressing. Like we'd lost half the country to they'd become zombified. So are some of them still zombified? Sure, of course, right? But a lot of them are now listening to these guys and Dylan and Rogan and Theo Vaughn and all these guys. And what they're getting is a whole smattering of different opinions, right? And Dave Smith, and some of them are pro-Israel, some of them are anti-Israel. A lot of them are really concerned about what Israel's doing, right? A lot of them say, hey, you know what, we want to close the border, but don't do this to immigrants. And so even if you disagree with them on a majority of the issues, at least they're not a conveyor belt of corporate talking points.
100%, I totally agree.
And that makes a giant difference.
Or more importantly, partisan talking points. Because the media it's like bifurcated now, where you're either left-wing media or right-wing media, and then you just cheerlead your tribe no matter what. And you're not really getting that with Rogan or Theo Vaughn, and that's a good independent media. You're getting less of that. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, you're getting way less of that, and you're seeing it every day with your eyes.
So we did have a poll question for our audience related to this story. The question is, what's the most insane part of the Trump administration so far? And then we give you 4 options: deportations, anti-Palestine crackdown, tariffs, or challenging the courts. And so far, deportations is ahead by a lot, 43%. Anti-Palestinian crackdown is at 14%, tariffs is at 17%, and challenging the courts is at 26%.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I think I would vote challenging the courts, because that breaks down all rules and law and order, right? Then you have no rules to protect you on anything. But all are legitimate and all are terrible.
Really bad, yeah.
And last thing about the independent shows that I think are positive. Again, I probably disagree with at least 60% of what somebody like Rogan might say, maybe 70, maybe 80, right? But what I love is that this is totally accidental. Just the nature of these shows having different opinions is that it is forcing people to use independent judgment.
Yes, that's a good thing.
Right, instead of just going, okay, this is my right-wing ideology, this is my left-wing ideology, I'm never going to veer from it. Fox News told me never to veer from this, MSNBC told me to never veer from this, right? Now now even if you like the independent shows, well, sometimes Andrew Schultz disagrees with Joe Rogan. So what are we gonna do? Yeah. We gotta pick one, right? And so when you expand out even to the right-wing shows, Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson, they obviously disagree. So now you gotta use your mind. Which one am I gonna go with? Oh wait, I'm gonna listen to their arguments. And we're at the beginning of people using their own minds. And then what it does is it also makes them research things. I wonder who's right.
Let's relax for a second. You're being a little too optimistic.
No, I'm not. No, guys, this is the beginning of that. And so it's not like I think, oh, it's over. Everybody's independent thinker now in America. We solved it. The country's saved. But the fact that it's headed in that direction, to me, is a great step forward. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.